And now, weighing in out of the blue corner, Josh the Pug Thomson.
100%.
And on the other mic, he weighs in from the red corner, Big John McCarthy.
Damn, I don't know why they played that, but that's just horrible. But we are the Weighing In podcast, and Josh Thompson is gonna talk his ass off about UFC 298 and what just went down, because we have a new featherweight champion. It just always happens to the old guy in the lighter weight classes. I just don't know what to say, but it happens every time, Josh.
Dave sent over this image, and it was like, what was the one that you came up with? It was when Conor McGregor knocked out Jose Aldo. It was like the same time, the same amount of title defenses, the same, whatever it was. They were almost virtually identical as our boy.
No, because see, that's bullshit, because Conor McGregor had been beat twice. Topuria has not lost.
Okay, but no, we're just talking about it in terms of when Jose Aldo finally lost.
I think 27-35.
Dave, can you pull that one up for us, buddy? You had posted, you had put something in the news. Yeah, it was basically like it was almost the same amount of title defenses, and Conor having, and then it was something that David sent over. But anyways, look,
same number of fights, maybe.
This was
as far as in the UFC.
Yeah. Before we even get started onto the main event, though, make sure you guys go to onlyfans.com/weighing-in, onlyfans.com/weighing-in. Subscribe us over there. It is free. Now we're going to jump right into the main event. See how quick that was? Very nice. Very nicely done. Very nice.
Zip.
And one last thing, make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please hit that little subscribe button there and the bell and the notifications. I want to thank you guys so much for continuing to support us. And we are literally, it is 5 minutes after the main event finished. We are here doing our show right now, so you guys get it first thing in the morning. So podcast,
do you know why?
Can get this thing up. Because we love them.
Do you know why?
Because we love them. Even when they talk trash in the comment section, we love them.
Josh, we care.
I don't know if care is kind of a little bit too close to me. I would rather use love, because care means I actually will. Love is, I can throw that around in these day and age.
Whoa.
Love is something I can just throw around. Care
you
about
throw
you.
love away.
Wow.
Okay.
This day and age. No.
I'll tell you.
Care is like too close to me. I care about you. I care. Anyways. John, what'd you think of the card? Let's talk the overall picture first. What'd you think of the card?
Overall, it actually was a good card. You got to be honest about things. You look at it, the preliminaries, there were some good fights in there. I really enjoyed the start of the fight with Anthony. I mean, dude, Fluffy is special. He's just a tough son of a bitch, and that's a big win against Kopylov. And overall, I thought the last two, and that's what you're looking at all the time. The Whitaker-Costa fight, we're going to go over it. It was fucking fireworks.
Best fight of the night.
It was great.
Best fight of the
great
night.
Fight. And Topuria against, Volkanovski. You got a new champion. What can you say? Yeah. And it was not like it was a dull championship fight.
No, it wasn't. No, it was like a little bit of just a chess match early, just kind of feeling each other out and that type of situation. But I mean, look, what was your overall, if you were to score it 1 to 10 for the card, the main card? Let's just talk the main card.
Main card. Main card, I'll give it an 8. There was a couple.
I was going to give it an 8.
There was a couple fights in there that I was a little. I mean, I understand it, but you have to adjust. And there was no adjustment in the fight. Yeah. And that's why the fight maintained where it was at.
Yeah, I would give it an 8 also. Like, it had the name value. It had all the fights that we would have liked to have seen just be knocked down, drag out. But it almost seemed like there was a little bit too much emotions involved toward the fighters. They cared too much whether they won or lost. Now, look, we understand that you always care whether you win or lose. We get it.
There you go.
But then you let that get in the way of fighting. And we saw that a little bit tonight. And but look, the main event, you understand what's on the line. You understand what you're going to get from Volkanovski. You understand what you're going to get from Topuria. And then with Whitaker and Costa, I mean, I was a little concerned that it was going to end up being like Costa kind of chasing Whitaker around. And the thing that made that fight was Whitaker came out and took the fight to Costa. you know?
Oh, yeah.
And so that's what kind of made that fight for me. And then as you go down to the Ian Garry, that's kind of the fight with Jeff Neal. That fight is the one that we're like people online, because I was kind of doing a little Twitter thing, and people online were just pulling their hair out, going, "What is going on?" You know,
this is what happened when you allow someone you follow.
Yeah.
When you're following someone that wants to move like Ian Garry's moving, and he has the length on you, and you've got to come inside. You got to make that when you make those approaches, you're stepping into the danger zone. Yeah. Okay. And you're taking a chance. And anytime, you know, you're in that area, you're taking a chance getting into that. But once you've reached it, that's your space. You can't just give it up. And I mean, give it up by closing it further and getting into a grappling situation where you're not really the guy that's going to out grapple him. It's like in tight, fighting in a phone book, that is meant for Jeff Neal, but he didn't do it. Yeah. He went from that distance to clinch, and he just took away his ability to win the fight.
Yeah, but we're going to go ahead and go right back to the main event, and we're going to talk about this main event. But those are the top 3 fights on that card there. But then obviously we're going to get into a little bit of the rest of we'll get into the rest of the card. But let's go right into the main event. You want me to start, or do you want to start?
What did I text you?
Was that before or after I saw the knockout?
No, at the start of the fight. At the start of the fight, what did I text you?
I don't know. What was it? We were texting back and forth. Win. What was it?
I said Topuria's going to win this.
Oh yeah, I mean,
yeah.
So no, I didn't.
No.
I didn't.
No.
I mean, I got to stick by what I said the other day. And
no. Yeah.
And for me, what I said was we didn't know which Volkanovski we were going to get. The one that was riding just the confidence all the way to the top when he was beating Max Holloway, and just that level of, kind of what we saw flashes of again in the Yair fight after his loss.
Yeah, Yair, Korean Zombie.
And so that made me go back to just him being confident enough to, look, I can bounce back after a loss to Islam. Now a head kick knockout loss is a lot different than a decision loss to someone like that. You still almost feel like you won the fight because there was a lot of, I wouldn't say controversy, but there was a lot of people talking that they thought he won.
He looked good in the 5th round of that fight.
He did.
That was the difference.
He looked fantastic.
Yeah.
But I want to say this is I'm not there. Look, I want to start off by saying I'm going to get into Topuria after, but I want to talk about Volk first.
Go.
What I'm saying is when I saw what Volkanovski was doing coming out of the fight, coming into the first round, stick and move, kind of fill him out, see exactly what he had to in power wise, kind of throwing the kicks, figuring out the range. I was like, okay, looks good. And then it's funny, you were texting too, saying like he's backing up with his chin in the air. Joe had brought it up a couple times, and I was like, I don't ever really recall him doing that. Maybe I missed it, maybe it wasn't, but I always felt like he was more of the hammer and less of the nail, and didn't really let guys push him around like that. Now, I also looked at it too. In my mind, I thought, I'm like, who has he fought that is a very, very similar in size, short in stature? And it wasn't until you and I got on here before we started filming and we were talking, I'm like, has he ever fought somebody really his height and size? And you were like, yeah, Chad Mendes. And I go, yeah, I look at it that way. But then you look at where Chad was in his career in comparison to where Topuria is right now in his career. Chad, you could tell, was like, look, I want to put it all out there, but if I lose this fight, I'm pretty much retiring. You know what I mean? Like there's different parts of your career, your different mental in parts of your career that you're when you're fighting that person. And that's kind of what we saw tonight. I didn't want to root against him because I still believe that he was going to come out and shine, getting back to his natural weight class, getting back to where he has been the champion for so many years, a couple of years now. Like he's just done everything, right? I thought he'd bounce back. I thought he'd be able to get in the clinch, kind of ragdoll him a little bit, show how strong he is, show the success that he had against someone like Islam. I'm like, look, I was looking for something like that.
Yeah.
And I guess what I'm trying to get at is that when you say that knockouts don't make a difference, they do.
They do.
They absolutely do. Because what I saw tonight was a more, and in the first round, I was leaving it up to being, it was a fill out process. But in the second round, it was very much the same in the beginning, a little bit of that. It was like he went back to chin in the air. I don't want to say afraid of getting hit, but he wasn't the same guy who just against Islam sat down on some punches and like was kind of instigating, like, let's throw, let's get after it. Let's wing it.
Yeah.
That wasn't him. You know, this one was like he knew that the punching power was there, but he also knew that it was a little bit harder to get in, to, you know, get in on land offense, land his offensive shots, whether it was kicking, whether it was his striking. That's where I lie right now with Volkanovski, is that he's already talking about a rematch in Spain. And I'm in my mind going, take some time off. And I know you're the guy, when you sit at home, you're stir crazy and you got to take your time off. Let yourself recover. And I think that this had an effect. That head kick knockout is going to, and not to take anything away from Topuria. I'm definitely not doing that. I'm going to get into Topuria here in a second. I'm going to just praise him with all different types of ways. Okay. But right now I looked at this and I said to myself, the head kick knockout had an effect. That's one. Two is it made Volkanovski fight a little bit different. But then again, I'll tell you why I think Topuria made Volkanovski fight differently as well. But then I think right now too, is it, I'm not saying he can't make another run to come back. I think that he just needs to take some time off, reshape, reform himself. And I think you're going to see him run back. I don't know if he'll ever be champion again, but this does open up this whole featherweight division again, because now you got Max sitting there going, but now he's going to fight at 155 and the same shit could potentially happen to him. Maybe not with a kick, but the same shit could happen to him.
Yeah. I look at it this way. You know, on the last podcast, we both just say, I can't go, you know, and I had not gone against Volkanovski for a while. It was because, look, he's been that good. And then as a, you know, I went and I started watching a couple more Topuria fights and I go, God damn, he is so technically good and he's so tight and he doesn't overextend. He doesn't get flustered. Because I had someone that said, you know, go, you know, I said he hasn't really been put in that position where he's been the nail. Someone said, go watch the Jai Herbert fight. So I did. Right. And it's a huge knockout by Topuria. But I understand what the person was saying is he was getting tagged by Herbert in that. But again, he stays so composed. He sticks with what he wants to do. And that's exactly what he did in this fight tonight. Is he went out there, he imposed that I'm going to make you move. I'm going to come forward. I'm not going to be the one backing up. And yeah, I'll take your little shots here and there, and I'll wait for my time to throw mine. And I think mine are going to have more effect than yours. And he was right. Yeah, that's what he did. Because he did throw, you know, a couple kicks in there, and he always has. And, you know, so he had the kick that like spun Volkanovski around and stuff. And then, you know, those are nice, but he's boxing centric. He is about using his hands. And when he uses his hands, Josh, everything it's exactly what we talk about. The punch goes out and it's coming back on the same rail. You watch what he's doing and it's tight. Nothing gets wide. Nothing goes out of place. You know, can he miss? Yeah, he can miss because there's movement. But take a look at his head movement during the fight. Take a look at his footwork during the fight. I was, you know, just going back before and watching him, I was like, he's going to win the fight. You know, it's just, I just look at it and I go, there's too many ways for this to go bad for Volkanovski against a guy that does not make a lot of mistakes. And that's why he's unbeaten. He doesn't make mistakes. He sits there. He knows what he is. He knows where he's good. And he makes you fight his fight. No. That's what a good fighter does.
Yeah, when you watch him, and this is what I was talking about, when to give him all the credit he deserves, like you said, there's no wasted movement. That's one. Two is there's a little bit of a shoulder shrug to the right and to the left as he starts to rock. So you don't know whether the punch is coming with the jab. You don't know if he's coming with a left hook.
With a hook
you don't
to
know
the body.
And when he rocks back, is he coming with an overhand right or is he coming with a straight right? Is he going to throw a kick off of that? There's no wasted movement, but he also gives little tiny feints to make you think he's going to go. And they're not over exaggerated. Sometimes what you'll see is fighters will over-exaggerate things to get you to react and then go. Well, he doesn't over-exaggerate. He does it in fluid motion. And then on top of that, what I love is that he keeps his hands so dedicated to his face. If you're the person he's fighting, you start looking for spots to get in there. And you realize that, look, if I focus too much on that spot, I'm going to get countered with something, because he is so controlled. He stays so disciplined with his defense. Okay, drop the elbow a little bit here, but don't drop this arm. He stays very tight with everything. When I saw him for a split second, he was actually kind of tense in the first round, had his hands clenched. But then as the round started to go on, you could tell he kind of like just released his hands and he kind of opened them up a little bit. And then you saw him get into a rhythm. But he came out very tense, and tight.
Kicks and everything.
And then, and then he started kind of, and then sure, he was getting hit with the jab. I mean, Volk's not slow just because he's getting a little bit older in age. He's not slow. It was his night. He started seeing what Volk was doing. He started seeing how Volk was leaning back. And you know what it kind of reminded me of? It kind of reminded me a little bit of the Dan Henderson fight against Bisping, is that he just kept seeing Bisping tee off. And then every time he went forward, he circled away with his head up.
Yeah.
And if you go back, I think after the first round in that fight with Dan Henderson, Dan goes, I'm going to knock him the fuck out. I'm going to knock him. He hits like a pussy. He was saying that between rounds. And then finally, he just was able to catch him. It's all a matter of time. And sometimes the clock is against you because it's only a 3-round fight, or it's only, whatever it is in that other fight. This was 5 rounds, I know. Yeah. But the other fight is the clock's against you in a 3-round fight because someone can stick and move for 3 rounds. It's not till they start to get tired. But in this fight here with Volk, it wasn't his night. He was dipping back with his head. He was going straight back. As soon as his foot hit the fence, he should have circled out. He didn't do that. Like, that's calm. Those are things that fighters, they do. And he's been doing it forever. It was just,
how many times have we always said, look, if you take more than 2 steps going backwards without that, movement to one side or the other, you're making a huge mistake.
Yeah.
And he was making that mistake.
Yeah.
And this is what happens. And I agree with you. The Makhachev fight, look, how he didn't train for it or anything like that. He took it last minute, but the knockout had an effect. Look, he got knocked out in this one. He was unconscious, and that's 2 in a row. He needs to truly take some time off, and he's already wanting to do, a rematch and stuff. And you're going, brother, this is not the time to rush things. This is the time to take a vacation, relax, do nothing, don't think about anything, and let yourself heal. If he does, can he come back and beat Topuria? I don't think so. But I mean, just age and everything tells you that, there's a reason for odds. And, it'll show you that former champion trying to come back and win against the guy that beat him that's younger happens very rarely.
Yeah. And
there's reasons for it. And Topuria is that guy that, he's that new breed of guy that, like, he can go anywhere. And he goes anywhere with guys that are, really good. He's on the ground with Ryan Hall, doesn't matter. Didn't do that a lot, but knocks him out. He can put on submissions. He's been doing jiu-jitsu since he was 4 years of age. He can, wrestle. He can box. He's going to be there. It's always, that drive to get to that title, just like he had. Now, how do you keep it? How do you keep not just the title? How do you keep the focus and the fire? That's going to be the question.
How does Topuria do it, or how does Volk do it?
No, how does Topuria do it?
He's got the whole slew of guys in front of him that'll keep him motivated. I really believe it.
He's already calling out Conor McGregor.
Yeah, I mean, look, well, I like that he's trying to aim for the top, and Conor, but I mean, like, look, I guess the only good takeaway, I guess for me, When I see a champion like a Volkanovski, who's very lovable. I mean, we talked about, his video that he did about the old man.
Come on. That's crazy. People are in the audience with the same clothing. I
thought it was great, man. Like, how do you not love the guy? He's absolutely amazing inside the cage, outside the cage. I mean, you've got professional athletes that come watch him. You got other guys that they want to come see him fight because he is such a nice guy. You know what I mean? Topuria's got plenty of guys that are lined up right now that are able to fight him. I know Max is going to be busy with Justin Gaethje, but I would like to have seen that fight happen first thing. Yeah. I mean, if Max is to beat Justin Gaethje, and you put the weight on, you took the time to get there to 55.
It's bad.
I don't know, John. We sat.
Then you deplete yourself to go back to 45.
Yeah, that's very true. And did you see the two of them? Did you see the two of them face off? Yeah. Gaethje and Max. Max looks bigger than him. Max looks bigger than him.
Yeah, Max is big.
He's a big guy. He is.
Look, all I can remember about when being there with Max is, first off, Max is such a nice human being, but the night that he beat Jose Aldo, to win the title, he was 178 pounds that night after weighing in at 145. And I was like, how did you put that much weight back on? And how are you going to compete putting that much weight? No problem for him. So,
John, somebody asked me the other day, said, hey, would you compete at 55 if you fought again? I was like, there's just no way. These guys are enormous. I'd have to compete at 45. I'd have to. Like, these guys are so big. It's ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, like, you think like Volkanovski weighed 178 when he fought Islam. Islam weighed 178 when they fought, and then you just told me the story about Max. I mean, these guys they're big, man. These guys are making the weight. I get it. There's a lot of diet and nutrition that gets them down closer as the fight weeks happen. But, they put it back on. They're used to training at that normal weight of, say, walk around 178. Look, where does Topuria go from here? If Max loses to Justin Gaethje, I don't think that he fights Max next. Then who? Okay. Dave, can you pull up the rankings, please, for the 145 pound? And then if I look at Topuria and who
if you're Topuria, I'm going to be smart about things. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to try to pick fights that I think are people would want to see. And the first one I would say that I would try to pull in is I want to pull in an ex-champion. Aljamain Sterling's moving up to 145. Boom! I'll take Aljamain.
That's a tailor-made fight for him.
Exactly. That's why.
Yeah.
But he's a former champion. And you look and you go, hey, that's, I want to start picking people off. Well, let me do it with a former champion. So then I get a win there. And then I can go and say, okay, now I can start picking them off, because it's really going to depend on between Yair and Brian Ortega, fighting in Mexico, who wins. Because that's really going to be the one that's going to probably be your next one.
Yeah.
But
you have Evloev, and then you've got, I mean, that's what you got right now. I mean, that's kind of the division right now. I mean, realistically, to be honest, it was Max and Volk.
For a long time.
And then you had Brian that's kind of lingering in there as well. And then Topuria made his way up. Yair's always been lingering in there as well, but he just hasn't been a very active fighter. And it's crazy that Topuria was able to make his run up in the middle of all that. You know what I mean? And he stayed active. He stayed busy. A lot of these guys, they haven't been as active or as busy. I haven't seen some of these guys fight in a while,
Some of them haven't.
Yeah, crazy. But I look at this. Look, I would have loved to have seen his first title defense be against Max Holloway. Because it just puts a whole new shakeup in the game. Or Max comes in, if Max is able to beat him, then do you have the automatic rematch, or do you have the Evloev or whatever? And then there's so many other different ways to work those fights in. Now that Volk has actually lost his title. Yeah. And I'm going to go back to the Usman or the Kamaru Usman situation, Dave, John. By the way, guys, it's 1 a.m.
2.
Yeah. I went against Kamaru so many times. I'm like, no, this guy, he's got the style to beat him. He's got the style to beat him. You know, and then so then I finally jump on the bandwagon, right? And then it's like, then he loses like a fight or two later. And then I'm like, okay, look, I can't go against Volk. You know, I was kind of always thinking that Max is going to get him. Then I start watching him fight against guys like, well, the Brian Ortega fight is the one that really got me going, okay, look, I saw what you did to Max multiple times. And then I see what you're doing to Brian. And I'm like, man, there's no quitting you. You're going to be a hard son of a gun to beat. You know, she got nothing but respect from him. Then I saw what he did with Islam. I'm like, geez, man, this kid is good. But he's not a kid anymore. Like, he's had his run. He's had his time at the top. And where he's been, he's done it for so long. He's fought everybody. He's pretty much wiped out that division. I mean, it's Topuria's time, to be honest. You gotta pat him on the back and go, hey, man, great job. Let's see what you can do. Let's see what you can do. You're undefeated. But I'm gonna look at this. I mean, do we start judging him then based on some of the fights if he doesn't have as great a performance against somebody like a Max Holloway, a Yair Rodriguez who he's finished, or a Brian Ortega who he just dominated except for the third round? You know, do we go through that? Like, do we start judging Topuria based on the guys that he's gonna have to fight that Volk's already kind of dismantled and say like, yeah, but Volk did this to them in his prime. Are you gonna do it to you in your prime?
No, it's because you're basically going through MMA math there. It doesn't matter how someone, he beat him better than this guy beat him. That who cares?
It doesn't matter.
Did he get the win? Sometimes it all comes down to this. And I try to tell people this all the time, and you understand it because you've been there. Fighting is one of the hardest things to do, in the fact that it's not like any other sport as far as, you lose the football game this week, you got another one next week. You lose the baseball game today, it's a doubleheader. So we're going to play another one just right after. When you lose a fight, it lingers with you because you don't have another fight for a long time. And everything is about that last fight. And everything is about getting on, off of the schneid and getting back on the winning streak and, doing what you can. But you've got to live with that loss for a while. And it's not an easy thing to do. It's tough for a lot of people. A lot of people hold on to, it's so important. Okay. It's important as far as your career and everything. But in the big picture of life, like I said, if you have a 10-year career, you're doing good. If you have a 20-year career, like some people, it's amazing. Vanderlei Silva, they're putting him in the UFC Hall of Fame, and you look and you go, okay, I can remember when Vanderlei first fought in the International Vale Tudo Championships that were in Brazil. Sergio, what was his name? Battarelli was the promoter of him and stuff. And, I can remember Vanderlei back then. He went 20-some years fighting. Wow. Crazy. You went 20 years fighting. Crazy. It's crazy, but.
That I can still put sentences together. So let's go.
We'll talk about that. But, I mean, it's one of those things where you look and you go, you got to be able to take the good and the bad and just brush it off. Let it, throw it to the side. And understand, if you are, Alexander Volkanovski at this time, you're going to do what you're going to do, but you do need to take time off and give yourself a chance to recover. Because the worst part about the brain, it doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
You don't feel it. He didn't feel getting knocked out. He didn't remember it. And it's not like having, you break your arm, they put a cast on your arm. So you can't use it for the next 6 weeks. Yeah. They can't cast your brain. Okay. But you need to treat it in the same fashion that you don't really use it. You don't abuse it, and you give it time to heal. I hope he does that because, his brain is damaged just like it's a broken arm or a broken leg. It's damaged. So
yeah. I mean, I've talked about, I've talked about my own sparring situations and how things went downhill. I sparred with this kid that they called Macaron. I can't remember. It's like means spaghetti in Brazilian or Portuguese or something. Anyways, like he threw a spinning wheel kick and just
you got beat by a noodle.
I got beat by a noodle, and and that sat me down on my ass. Sat me hard. Yeah. And then I was like, oh no, I'll be all right. I finished the rest of the round, and then sparred again. Then I sparred again. A couple weeks later with Eric Pico. He hit me with a nice shot, sat me right to my butt, and just to have that happen to me twice within like a couple weeks, 2 weeks of each other, I just realized that it was like. You need to.
I remember you pulled out of a fight because of that, though.
What's that?
You pulled out of the fight.
Yeah, I pulled out of the Michael Chandler fight,
which was smart.
Yep. I just knew because my whole career I'd been hit by guys like a Josh Koscheck and a John Fitch, and I even sparred with heavyweights at the time with Paul Bonatello and Mike Kyle, and I was like, oh, I could take the Rockhold, and I sparred quite a bit. Trevor Pranglin and I, Brony, these guys could crack, and never had I been sat down. And so just the reality was like, hey, you're getting older. You're 37 years old, it's like, this is 38, actually 38, 37, 38 at the time. You have to wrap your head around the fact that you're not what you used to be. And that was hard. It's hard. It's a hard pill to swallow.
It's a bitch.
It is. And you don't realize.
Josh, think about it. Let me ask you a question. Right now, being honest, what age do you picture yourself at?
Since I quit drinking, probably like in my 40s. No. In reality, like you feel like you mentally, you feel like you could just do whatever.
Like you're 30.
Yeah. Maybe even younger, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's funny. There was me and another dad yesterday playing with our boys. There was, he had his two boys. I had my son, and we were playing basketball, the two of us against them, and just moving around. We schooled them, but only because we're taller than them. But it was like, but the reality of it was like, if I had to do more running than I actually had to have done, it would have been a lot more hard. It would have been a lot harder. It was because I haven't really worked out in a while, but still, there was a couple moments I go,
I'm breathing hard.
Why am I breathing so hard right now? So you think your mentality is you feel a lot younger. You think you're a lot younger than you
always.
Are. So yeah, it's funny because my grandmother always used to tell me, she's like, I feel like I'm still in my 30s. And, she was in her 60s.
Yeah. She
sometimes still acted like she was in her 30s. But it was, look, I want the best for him. And I think, honestly, the best for him would be to take a long layoff, let your brain heal. This is that time when we talked about the Bryce Mitchell situation. We talk about anytime someone's been knocked out viciously. And he's had it twice now, 2 times in a row. You got to let your brain recover. Get some avocados in you at night. Get the fats inside your body at night before you go to bed. Those are the type of things while your brain heals.
Activity.
There's so many other, low frequency, no reading, no math problems, no word puzzles, none of that.
Glasses.
Yeah, there's so many things that you should be doing during that time to let your brain heal. Hopefully he does it.
Yeah. But man, the UFC's got a hell of a featherweight champion still. This kid's going to be there for a while.
John, but here's the thing though. I look at, and I don't want to take I keep saying this. I don't want to take anything away from Topuria, but I look at who is there right now in comparison to when he was coming up. He had, Volk had Aldo, Max. I mean, Dustin Poirier was still in still the 45. No, it was kind of at the end, right? Kind of at the end. Yeah. But you had guys that had been there for a long time. Not a long time, but guys that were kind of coming up, I should say. But they had names already. He's kind of dispatched them, and they're still in there. But are they still the same guys that Topuria is going to have to fight?
No, it's going to. But you can't. But you got to take a look and say they're still incredibly talented people, and you named one in Evolov.
Yeah,
he's undefeated. How can you look at anything better than having an undefeated champion going against the undefeated challenger? You don't see that a lot in MMA. No. So, I mean, there are people there, and it's going to be interesting to see who they put against him.
Who did Arnold Allen just lose to?
Evolov.
Yeah. Okay. I was like, wait, didn't he just? Okay. But he's another guy that if he just believes in himself, and he's a guy that I think could give Topuria some problems. The jab, the striking, the movement, he's got the body size, all of that stuff. He just got to believe in himself. He was so worried about getting taken down. His takedown defense is great. He's got good striking. I mean, him and Topuria would be a fun fight. Fun fight. And then I like the Brian Ortega fight for Topuria also, but the reason why I like that fight because Brian got a chin on him. And so he's going to take a lot of shots in that fight, but he'll continue to keep dishing it out. That's not a good thing. I know it's not a good thing, John, but man, that guy's a tough son of a gun. And I haven't seen that guy in a boring ass fight. He's always in it. He's always in it. Even when he lost to Volk, the submission attempts, in the third round, and the triangle from the guillotine to, he looked exhausted. And all of a sudden, snatch, boom, got the neck. He's always a threat at anywhere and every turn. So I don't know. There's some fights in there. The Yair fight kind of interests me too, because the kicks will play a factor in that fight.
Sure will.
But he lost to Volk. He showed a little bit of quitting him. He showed a little bit of that, okay, look, I got hit. I got this. He showed a little bit there, and he got hit with a good shot. But Topuria's got that good shot too. So there's a lot of ways for these guys to maybe beat him, Topuria. But it's going to be a tough task. He's not 15-0 for nothing. Not 15-0 for nothing. All right, guys. Hey, go to Weigh In. Go to onlyfans.com/weigh-in, onlyfans.com/weigh-in. Subscribe to us over there. It is free. And I want to thank you guys so much for continuing to support us over there on that platform. I did a Q&A there last week, and it was pretty lit. We had a good time. It was last Wednesday, I believe, at 2 p.m. And I would like to do another one this week, but I will be gone in Riyadh. And I don't know if you have to have a VPN over there to access OnlyFans.
You probably
do. I think so. Because I know when I was in China, you had for Instagram, for Facebook, you had to have a VPN for everything. They actually, when I was there, they didn't have Google either. So that was in 2013, 2014, I think, is when I was there.
It tells you something.
Yeah, it should tell you something, but. All right, hey, well, let's go ahead and go right into the co-main event, which I felt like was probably the best fight of the night.
Oh, dude, these guys went when you're asking for a fight and you're saying, hey, just hey, go out there and put it on the line. Both guys went out and put it on the line. Robert Whittaker looked as good as he's looked in a long time. He looked fast. He was evasive. The first round he was winning that round. He was putting great calf kicks in on Costa. The jabs, they were landing, and he looked good. He was just getting out volumed by Whittaker, but the spinning wheel kick, holy shit. I can't believe that Robert Whittaker was able to stay on his feet with that, because it landed clean, and it hurt him bad. Luckily there wasn't much time left in the round for him, and so he ended up making it through the round, being able to go back to his corner, but that was the difference maker in that round. That shot came close to ending the fight, you could say. So Paulo Costa should have won that round. I know a judge had it at 30-27. I don't know how, but so be it. But then Robert Whittaker came back, and I was really impressed with the way he came back, because he came out in that second round and he came out pretty much on fire. He was throwing, and I thought he took that round. And then the third round, I thought Paulo Costa, man, he came out, he was looking good. He was winning the first half of that round. And then here comes Mr. Robert Whittaker showing just what kind of heart he has. And he kind of took the round over right at the end of it, and just put on a very impressive performance coming off of a loss, which is not easy. He came in, he fought a tough dude in Paulo Costa. People can say what they want. Paulo Costa's fast. God damn, with his head kick. Robert Whittaker is fast, and he was faster than Robert. I was like, God damn, when he decides to go, look out, man. He just explodes. And the kicks, he should have kicked a lot more. Yeah. Because his front lead leg kick, he has no tell on it. It's just coming up. It was beautifully done.
He is somebody that I think we're going to look back at his career and go, man, if he would have just been more active, I think he would have found a stride. Like, had he just kept it going after the Yoel and Izzy fights, instead, it looked like he just took time away from all the criticism he took for the glass of wine and whatever it was. Like, he just, I don't know what happened, but he's that amount of time away. And then he fought Luke. Wasn't the greatest performance, but it was a fun performance.
It's a gutty performance.
Definitely a gutty performance by both guys.
By both.
But then I believe he got injured, right? Hurt his arm or something real bad. And then he comes back now and he has this fight. He's just so talented, man. He's got so much to offer the sport. Dave, how old is Paulo Costa? 33? What is he, like 30? 32. I mean, he's got some time, especially in that weight class.
He's in his prime.
32 is his prime. You can get him all the way up to 34. He's got 2 more years. He just got to stay busy and active. And I thought also to give Robert Whittaker credit. He is coming off of a knockout loss to the now champ DDP. And in that fight, he got hit with some big shots. And then turn around and come back and to have the mentality to go, I'm not going to go backwards. I'm going to go forward. I'm going to push you around. You're supposed to be the hard striker, the power in the hands. You're fast. You're explosive. You live off your athleticism. You're a fucking model. I hate you for that. I'm going to get you. That's what I'm going to do to you. And so he came out and he did exactly what he set his mind to. He came out and dictated the pace. He dictated where the fight would go. I thought he did a great job. I text you, I think halfway through the second round, and I go, look, he's just throwing 2 punches, occasional 3. The 3rd and the 4 are always landing. He's just got to throw 3 and 4. Not every single time, but you got to set him up in terms of every time he only threw 1, 2, maybe 3, and the 3rd one was always landing. Get after it. Get him going back.
Paulo was making the mistake of going straight back.
He was going straight back. Yep. But Whittaker, I was surprised too, because I'm surprised also too from Volk and with Topuria, as well with Whittaker and Costa. These guys don't knee more. As soon as you clinch, get right to the knee. I've seen guys that moment when they reach for your head or for like an over under, that side of the body is open. Whatever side that reaches up over your shoulder to grab the over under, that's the side you need to elbow. Okay, unless you have the underhook, then you just use your elbow a tiny bit to kind of peek their elbow up and slide your knee right up underneath your own elbow. And it hits right to the liver or right to the ribs. It's slick. It's quick. Not a lot of effort. And I'm so surprised that a lot of these fighters are not utilizing that more. I wonder if that's going to start happening more now that if they start to work on that new rule where you can knee if the hand's on the ground, that type of stuff. I wonder if they're going to start seeing more knees being utilized because I feel like fighters have gotten away from it. As I'm saying that, I'm thinking Ian Garry landed a ton of fucking knees right up the middle tonight. But his body frame allows him to do that.
But you got to look. There was a moment in this fight with Costa that he landed a knee to Whittaker that you could see it hurt. Mm-hmm. You know, because you always take a look at the fighter, and if they just give that little bit of their head kind of comes down, and now they're going backwards. Oh, you know, it hurt. He's having a hard time sucking air in. He's just trying to gain some distance. There was a couple of good knees in that fight, but you're right. Ian Garry threw a ton.
Yeah, but I'm saying though, they're such an easy weapon to utilize without a lot of effort, and the timing on it. It doesn't have to be hard. It's just the timing on it. As soon as you step in and you feel them start to reach for your head, just throw the knee. It doesn't have to be hard. Just right up into the ribs, right up into the liver, right. It's got to be right there, up into the bread basket, whatever it is. And like I said, it doesn't have to be hard. Just the timing on it's got to be there. But Robert Whittaker had some great moments, especially in the first round, and then it was stolen by the kick.
Yep.
To talk about the judge though, real quick, 30-27. Do we care? The right guy won.
No.
Do we care? I didn't think we did either. Because as long as the right person won,
yeah,
I really don't care. I don't want to give it too much attention. Just I wanted to say like,
I'll be honest. I say the same thing, even if it's a split decision.
Yeah,
you know, and as long as the right guy wins, I don't care because you can't expect all the judges don't see the same fight. They're seeing it from different angles. They're seeing it with the referee in the way or the fighter's back is to them when the best shot is landed. Mm-hmm. and they can't see it. So no,
Yeah.
that's why they have the 3 judges, and that's why they sit at,
Different
opposing positions around the cage. So no, right guy won. Robert Whitaker should have won the fight. I thought he won it, 2 rounds to 1. So congratulations to him.
Dave, give me those rankings for me, please. Let's play matchmaker here.
Ooh, with middleweight.
There we go.
You have so many right now. Based upon who the champ is, you have a contingent from, all the way down to number 11 that you could pull in there. You could put Chimaev in there. It would be interesting. You could put Imavov in there. It would be interesting. You could put Brendan Allen in there. He's on a tear. Brendan Allen is looking good right now. You could put Marvin Vettori in there. It's a tough fight. You could put Jared Cannonier in there. I think they should. He's the guy. If Israel wants some more time off, Sean, to sit there and give him an automatic rematch, I don't agree with that. But Jared Cannonier, that would be the guy.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, for me, I think for 300, we're going to see Izzy and DDP. That's the fight I think we're going to see. I'm going to stick with that.
Weren't they supposed to announce that today?
I don't know.
They said they were.
Maybe we missed it.
They lied.
Did we missed it, Dave? Dave didn't pay attention. He fell asleep on his couch.
Dave wasn't asleep. He was just reading the inside of his eyelids.
Exactly.
Dave, turn your camera on so everyone can see your little woolly robe that you have on.
He goes,
No.
no.
Come on, it's a white woolly robe.
Oh,
Come on, buddy. Let me see. Let's show
yeah,
everybody.
Is it kind of like the Sugar Sean fur coat?
Yes, it is. It is.
I don't want to make him look bad, so I'm just going to leave it off.
I got it.
I look at Paul Acosta and I would love to see him and Chimaev fight, but I know that now that he's lost this fight and then they've got plans for him. Everyone keeps talking about it. They want to see him in DDP or they want to see him in Strickland. And I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it. I don't want to.
I think it's real simple. You got, Costa coming off a loss. Delidze's coming off a loss. Put those 2 together.
Great fight. Good job, John. Golf clap.
You said you wanted to be matchmakers.
Yeah, golf clap. But then again, I'm going to take the upper road. I'm going to take Chimaev versus Sean Strickland. They've trained together. They know each other. The filling out process is over. Let me see that fight, and the winner fights DDP. After Izzy and DDP fight at 300. That's what I'm looking at. So
you're sounding awful confident there.
Because Sean's ready to fight. He's always ready to fight. So let's see if we can get.
I don't have any doubts about that.
The thing is, Sean's like, I don't want to fight out of the country, and Chimaev can't come in the country, so I don't know if we're going to see that fight either. But that's a fight I'd like to see. Yeah. All right, next fight: Ian Garry versus Jeff Neal. John, this fight left a lot out there to be desired. There was so much more we expected from this fight.
Yeah, well, but you got to look and say, if you're part of the Ian Garry crew and on his side, smart fight. That's, you fought a very smart fight. You didn't get into, the fighting in a phone booth, which I thought would have been a disaster for him with Jeff Neal. You held on to clinches. Even I thought in the first round he got hurt. He got hit with a left-right combination and went back into the cage. He was hurt. The announcer team didn't really pick up on it, but he was hurt. It stunned him. And but Jeff Neal went right into a clinch and let him get himself back in the fight. But I actually gave Jeff Neal that round based upon it. I thought Jeff Neal won the first round, and then Ian Garry took the next 2. I agree with him winning the fight. It's not the most exciting to watch someone who's going to, try to just, dip and dab and pick and, throw the jab and move and, all those things. But all the kicks, all the knees inside at times, he did a lot of good work, and he fought a smart fight against a guy like Jeff Neal. It's Jeff Neal that's going to have to go back and look and say, man, I had that. I could have had that fight. You could hear, his corner yelling, hey, cut that off. Don't follow. And he kept following at times. And then at times but his corner also wanted him to get into that clinch on the cage and to put weight on him and to make him work. And I didn't think at times it was the right thing. I thought he should have stayed out of the clinch and be in that area where you're stepping on his foot and you're bringing uppercuts inside, hooks to the body, all the things that dirty fighting, we talk about dirty boxing, getting a single collar tie. Those are all the things that, in my opinion, that's where Ian Garry's not strong. He's good on the outside. He's got a clean, stand-up style. He's got good range. He uses his speed well. So where do you beat him? Where he can't use that range and where his speed doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, where I look at Ian Garry is going to take somebody. When I think of Ian Garry and someone to beat him, I think of someone who's going to make it a dirty, grimy fight. Someone who's going to fight him in a phone booth. Someone who's going to clinch him, though, as well. But you just got to be more active in that position, not be so afraid of losing the position. You could tell that Jeff Neal was like, man, it took me a lot to get you here. I don't want to lose it. So then there was not a lot of activity there. So he was just trying to press him there, just trying to hang on him, just trying to keep the body lock or just keep him pressed to the fence. You can't fight that way. And as much as I can sit on the outside, I know how difficult it is because I've fought guys like that where you're like, come here, you little shit. Sit still for a second so I can hit you.
Well, and especially when you're taking a look at the difference in their height. Mm-hmm. For Jeff Neal to get Ian Garry down by body locks and things like that up against the cage, not an easy thing to do.
Yeah. And so Ian Garry fought a very smart fight. He fought at range. He does a very good job of keeping that distance, utilizing that little thigh kick and the push kick and all of those things is like a longer version of a jab. Very nicely done. He's very quick with his lateral movement, never stays with his back against the fence or tries not to. And anytime his back foot touches that fence, he's circling out. He fights a very nice technical fight. Like I said, it's going to take someone.
He fights smart.
He's going to take someone who's grimy, someone who's going to just kind of who's going to do what Topuria kind of does. He's so technically sound. Someone's going to have to be like a Topuria who just keeps their hands up tight, not a lot of wasted movement, moves their head a little bit offline, not too much, and counters a little bit. Every time he jabs or anytime he goes to push kick, just slips a tiny bit offline and throws the hard straight shot. It's going to be someone like that is able to beat him, or somebody who can just literally wrestle the shit out of him. And if we're looking at that welterweight division, there's a ton of guys there that can do that to him.
Well, there's plenty of them. There's a lot of guys there, but the one I'm looking at to say, hey, if you really want to look at someone that's in that position, he called out Colby. Okay. He called out Colby, because he thinks he can stop Colby's wrestling. Okay. Colby is calling out older people and he's getting older. So probably not the greatest matchup for him right now. Sean Brady.
That's a great fight. I want to see it.
Yeah.
I want to see it. Sean Brady looked fantastic in his last fight. I know he got injured this fight, but would he fight his old teammate in Gilbert Burns? I mean, Gilbert. Yeah, Gilbert's got his fight coming up, right? Gilbert does.
Yeah.
Jack Della Maddalena. Yep. I mean, but overall, look, I wouldn't be opposed to a Stephen Thomson fight.
No, that would be interesting.
It would.
It'd be great.
How do you use your reach and your range against someone who is probably
using their reach and their range? And he's a guy that does it as good as anybody.
Yeah. I mean, how are you going to handle it? And Stephen is, even though he's 40, 41 years old, he's still got some speed on him. Ask Kevin Holland.
Yeah.
So
he does.
There's a little bit there. And then if you look at the wrestling, you got Shavkat, you got Bilal, you got Kamaru. Those three guys can wrestle. Colby Covington can wrestle. Sean Brady can wrestle. I mean, you got guys in there that can wrestle. So we'll see what happens with the Jack Della Maddalena. That guy can make a huge jump if he beats Gilbert Burns. It makes for some fun stuff, man. And I'm not opposed to seeing like an Ian Garry and Kevin Holland fight either. Why not? Why not if MVP beats Kevin Holland, do we see that an Ian Garry?
Dude, that would be an interesting fight,
right?
That would be an interesting fight. But to me, that's the same as putting Stephen Thomson.
That's true.
Absolutely, Stephen Thomson and Machado Garry. That would be great. Or MVP and Machado.
What do you do when you're facing someone who's faster than you, though? When you're that technically sound like Ian Garry's,
the question.
Yeah, what do you do? I mean, MVP is going to be faster than him.
Yes.
Yeah.
But not by much.
I don't know about that.
Well, we're going to find out, aren't we?
All right, next fight.
All right, we had Merab Dvalishvili taking on Henry Cejudo, and this is the, again, it just goes to show you, hey, you let time go by, and the years start to have an effect. Your ability to maintain control in a fight, and the ability to stay calm and everything, and not have the shots and all of the pressure get to you and wear you out. That's what you saw.
Yeah.
It's not that Merab is a better fighter than Henry. It's not that he's a better wrestler than Henry. Now, he had some great takedowns in there. It's MMA, and Merab at least puts it all together. And the one thing that he absolutely utilizes as well as anybody in any weight class, he utilizes pressure. He puts a constant, he's going to be there to fight. Doesn't mean that he's going to be there trying to wrestle you the whole time, even though that's usually what he's looking for. He'll throw hands with you. He just wants to push you. And he does. And I thought Henry fought the first round well. I thought he actually won the first round. And from that point, just oxygen was the difference. One fighter had oxygen in their lungs and one was losing it. And it's a nasty feeling when you're getting tired and your opponent isn't. And that's really what happened with Henry in the fight. He just, he got out cardioed, and it's not something that I think that he's used to, because he's in good shape.
Yeah, he's in good shape. He's also getting a little bit older. There's that. And then 3 years away from the sport makes a difference. It takes it takes a lifetime to build up what he had built. And then to step away for 3 years.
It's gone.
It's gone.
And then you got to try to get it back.
Look, and to put it in even smaller increments for people to understand, we spend 10 weeks getting our bodies in shape. And I can tell you right now, in a weekend, I've fucked that all up. Like that, it's true. You see these bodybuilders, these guys, they get all ripped and shredded and everything like that. And then within a couple of days, they don't even look like the same person. And so to think what 3 years off will do to you. And he was at the world-class level, not just like Olympic wrestling, but 2-division champion and fighting out of weight class. Like if he was younger,
but he was able to press a fight.
Yeah. I honestly believe had he stayed and just stayed at 125, we'd be having this conversation about him being better than DJ. I really believe. Because I look at all like, Brandon Moreno and Devison Figueiredo and all the ones, Pantoja, all those guys that are coming up, I think Henry would have controlled them, taken them down, dominated them. I think all of those. I think he would have been able to do that for a long period of time. And after the DJ situation, when DJ was traded away and so forth, there was no one really for Henry to fight. And that's why he went to 135 to challenge himself and had a great performance. And he kind of was the guy that started the spiral effect of.
Hold on. He beat the 135 champion when he was the 125-pound champion.
Yes.
So.
Yes. And TJ Dillashaw. And then he goes up and he wins the 35-pound vacant title, correct? Because that's who he fought Marlon Moraes for. Yep. Correct? And then he defended it against Dominic Cruz, who was considered to be the best 135-pound champion there was. And so when I look at Henry, had he stayed in those 3 years, we could be sitting here talking about him possibly being the best fighter that ever existed. Possibly. Because if he did it at 125, he did it at 135. And how did he do it? How did he continue to do it at 135? And I guess here, if he would have stayed, would we have seen him go up to 145 and fight someone like a Volkanovski? You know what I mean?
He would have tried.
He would have tried. I'm not saying it would have went his way. But, I mean, that's the kind of person he is. I mean, he's already talking about, if I can't beat Merab, then I probably should retire.
Do you think he's going to?
I don't want to see him retire.
I want
to see him get more time in there, inside the room, inside the cage. I want to see him get back to all the years he spent building himself up to that level. I want to see him get back to that. I mean, how old is Henry? 35, 36? Can you click on Henry?
Right at.
So I think he's 36. 37. Oof.
37.
He's got another good, I say he's got another year and a half. it's hard at that weight class. That weight class is the toughest weight class, I think, in the sport right now. Yeah. They've got fighters in and out of the UFC that are the top guys in the world. Patchy Mixby in there. You've got Rafian Stotts. You've got Magomed Magomedov. You've got Sergio Pettis. You've got all these guys. There's tons of guys, and then that weight class in the UFC is probably I think is the most stacked in that weight class.
It's crazy.
And there's guys that will like that weight class will give, like Corey Sandhagen will give him problems because of the reach, the range, the knee up the middle, all of those things.
Yep.
So I guess I go back to I don't want to say he's a blown up 135 pounder, but he should be a 25 pounder.
Yeah, but he had problems making 125.
Yeah, this is true. But the 3 years away, he would have stayed in that weight class, and I think he would have been probably the most, if not the most dominant champion at that weight class, or so on. I mean, it's hard to say because DJ left, and
the most unhappy champion after making it that way.
Yeah, this is true. All right, next fight.
Anthony Hernandez taking on Roman Kopylov. Man, I tell you what.
Let me pause you for a second.
Go ahead.
We didn't give Merab any love.
Oh no, we did not.
We did not. True. Let's give Merab some love.
I want to be. Look at Merab came out there and fought his ass off, and that's why he won. Because he went out there in the first round, he lost that round, but you saw him walking back to his corner, and he knew. He's like,
yeah.
And what he knew was Henry was starting to breathe hard. I'm getting to him. And that was a big confidence builder for him. And Merab just kept doing what Merab does. And it's hard not to like Merab.
It is.
You got to be a really nasty person not to like him, because that dude is just freaking awesome. I look at, what he did, people can say what they want. The whole thing when Aljamain was the champion and Merab goes, no, I'm not fighting for the champion. That's my brother. Loved you. I loved him for that. And I know that's a tough one to do, and it's a especially tough one to do with UFC and Dana and the way he feels. But God, you know what? Way to go, dude. And now he's saying, "Oh, I want the title," and that's the way it should be. And he's right. I like the fact that he's always calling out on Sugar Sean. They're two completely different styles, but could he beat Sugar Sean? Yeah. Could Sugar Sean beat him? Yeah. But if Merab, is able to wrestle the way he does, I'll tell you what, his little single leg takedown on Henry with his trip was beautifully done multiple times in that fight. Yeah, he had the one where he picked him up, put him on the shoulder and stuff. But the little trip off of the single leg was beautifully done. Just textbook. And he can wrestle his ass off. And he has got exactly what you're talking about. That built up gas tank. And this is not something he just has. He's worked for it. And he works his ass off for it. And he has built himself into a goddamn cardio machine that can push harder at a higher RPM than everybody else. And he uses it as a weapon, and it wins him fights. And God bless him for it.
Yeah, that's a little single leg snatch and snap behind. So he just snatches the single, and then he pulls you a little bit towards you, and then he steps behind and then drives into you, and you just trip and fall. It's the number one takedown I teach the young kids when I was teaching wrestling in my gyms. Just right away, just feint them a little bit, see what they do, and if they don't move, just snatch the single, pull the single leg to you, and then just take a hard back step behind them on that back foot, and they just basically lean into them, and they'll fall over. Yeah. So teaching young kids how to wrestle, but Merab's got it down, man. He just took down an Olympic gold medalist.
Hello, multiple times.
It's one of the easiest takedowns, low risk, high reward type position. So it worked out perfectly for him. He is. You hit the nail on the head, John. How do you not like him?
Man.
I was on the fence about him because I was like, his fights are not really that. Yeah, he has, they're he pushes the pace, he pushes the action, but when he breaks his opponents, it becomes one sided, and then it's like but then if the finishes aren't there, then you're like, all right, you should be able to finish this guy because you broke him already. But not everyone's easy to finish, so I got to keep that in my mind. I remember these moments, and you should be able to finish all these guys, but they're not everyone's easy to finish. He is fantastic, man. I want to know if he does face Sugar Sean. Is he going to wear the red leather jacket out to the cage? Like, is it, are we going to see that? I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. I'm looking forward to seeing how because the way he weaponizes his cardio and his conditioning, and he's going to have to utilize his striking a little bit to close that distance against Sean. Because what you're going to see is you're going to see Sean O'Malley reminds me of Ian Garry, and Ian Garry reminds me of Sean O'Malley. And so when I look at the fight that happened tonight where Jeff Neal was trying to close that distance, Merab's going to be put in that same similar situation.
He's got to step into the danger zone sometime.
Yep. As the same way, though, that like how Aljamain Sterling had to get in there. So and you're basically fighting a very similar fighter in Merab and Aljo, but just a little bit different in terms of how they close their distance and also how they weaponize their cardio. Merab is someone who can be patient in there like he was tonight. I'm going to let him do his thing, but I'm going to just stay in front of him, make him work. And as the fight goes on, I'm going to slowly pick it up, and I'm going to slowly pick it up. And then in a 5-round fight, I mean, we're going to see, man. We're going to see. Yeah. So we're going to see if Chito gets past Sean O'Malley, and we're going to see what happens. But then Merab's obviously going to be waiting in the wings over there going, hey, I'm next, licking his chops.
He's sitting there next, and he should be because, I mean, what? Do me a favor, Dave, pull up his thing. What's his win streak now?
I think it's 10.
Is it 10? I mean, it's 10. Way up there.
I think it's 10.
10.
Jesus.
Yep.
Yeah, he deserves it.
Yep. Well, I mean, look, we all know that when you tell the UFC no, they get a little upset, so they make you fight somebody else. And so they made him fight Peter Yan. And he beat Peter, and then he goes, okay, well, now what do we do? And they're like, okay, we'll give you Henry because Henry called out for the fight. I hope Henry doesn't retire, and I think Merab definitely deserves the next title shot. So I'm looking forward to see what happens there. But John, this fight, I'd be lying if I said I would be lying if I said I thought that Kopylov was going to win. But I also am very, very happy for Fluffy.
Yeah,
very happy.
I was I'm being honest. I was rooting for Fluffy to win. I just like his heart. I like the way he goes into a fight. I like this toughness. He's sticking his tongue out. He actually flipped him off at one point. I said, just because you come from Northern California doesn't mean you got to act like the Diaz brothers. But Kopylov has got a serious stand-up style. He's got power in his left hand. The kicks are hard. He's tough to take down. And, this is when you talk about, hey, sometimes you got to be the nail before you're the hammer. That's exactly what, Anthony was going through. He was taking big shots at times. He took a couple of
big
kicks to the body that you knew hurt.
Yeah.
And just kept coming forward and sticking with what he knew he had to do to get the fight where he could actually take over. And he had his moments on his feet. We talked about this fight before, and we said, look, in the stand-up, Kopylov he's got the advantage. He's way better. And on the ground, we believe that Hernandez was way better. And it kind of played out that way, but Hernandez had his moments on the feet. He looked good at times. He just didn't have the big striking moments that Kopylov did. But, man, as soon as he got it to the ground, you knew that Kopylov was in trouble. He was not comfortable, and he stopped the choke on the one, but it was like, no, once he just kept on working it back and forth. Sunk in. It's beautifully done.
The way he kept twitching arm to arm and the way he kept reattacking. And then there was a moment there where Kopylov started to kind of get up and Hernandez didn't have hooks. And I was like, wait, what are you doing? What are you doing? And what he did was he took his hooks out to pull him backwards. So when he pulled him backwards, Kopylov lifted the chin, and then that's when he reattacked. Nicely done, though. Great work on the choke. I loved his little smile at the end there when he was shaking his head that he knew he had it. I thought that was pretty awesome. Look, when someone has it, they got it. Give me a little. It was almost like that Nate Diaz pose.
It's exactly Nate Kurt when he's Pellegrino. On the ground with a triangle. Yeah,
triangle. Very nicely done. All right, I'm going to give a couple honorable mentions here. Amanda Lemos versus Mackenzie Dern. Mackenzie Dern, look, I think she could be the future if she could freaking learn how to do some takedowns. Please take a judo class. Please take a wrestling class. Don't fight again until you take that. Don't.
Look, if there's one, but if there's one thing I'm going to say, Mackenzie, God damn, you're tough.
Yeah.
You know, because look at that one point in the second round when she got hit and you saw her actually, the actual shot didn't put her down. She put herself down, put her hands on her face like that. I thought, oh, she's bowing out of this. You know what? And something hit inside of her and she said, no, I'm not going to give up. Because Mike Beltran was the referee and Mike Beltran is telling her, Mackenzie, move. Mackenzie, show me you want to be here. And she all of a sudden tried. And you look and you go, man, I know it's not nice to call a girl a dog, but man, she's a dog.
She is.
She is just tough as hell. You are a junkyard dog. Man, I just give you credit because, you know, I had you losing the first round. I knew there were some people that thought you won it because, you know, you were on top. No, she hurt you bad in the early parts of that. So I thought she won the third round though. You know, she was fought her ass off. She lost the first and second, but I thought she won the third. And, you know, it's just spoke volumes of how tough she is mentally.
All she's got to do is take time away from everything else and work on either judo, okay, and get into the clinch or her wrestling. Double legs, single legs. She's got to work on that. She has no concept on how to punch her way into the clinch. She has no concept on shooting a double leg or snatching a single. None. And I'm so surprised that her coaches keep allowing her to go in there unprepared.
Well, she's actually under new. If you looked at who her coaches were, she's changed over. She's now with like Tiki Goshen and Paul Herrera.
I hope it gets fixed though, John. I hope it gets fixed.
Normally, that's what they do. Is they do a lot of wrestling.
She's got some talent. She has the talent. And she got obviously showed tonight. She's got heart. We've seen her have heart.
Man, she's got heart.
She's got heart.
And Lemos has got heart because man, she was working her ass off.
Fast with those kicks, man. Those body kicks were nasty.
The early dude, some of those early kicks. Whew.
Yeah, I agree. And then Min Yang Zhang, he nasty. He's got some power. He's got 100% finishing rate. Can you pull up his record? He's got 100%. I think 100% finishing rate.
Barrio was doing pretty good in that fight for a little bit.
Round one. What the fuck?
I know.
What the? That'd be like if I fought Dave that many times. That's what it would look like. That's what it would look like. But man, he had just big shot. Bam, lights out. Fight is over. Nicely done. And then the other fight there was that
was a big one.
Scroll back. Barlow.
Danny Barlow. God damn, thank you very much. He's talented. He is talented because Josh Quinlan is a good fighter. Josh is a tough, very talented Hawaiian fighter, and Danny Barlow with a broken arm possibly. He said he thought his arm was broken. Put him away. Man, I'll tell you what. Danny Barlow showed me a ton in that fight. That was an impressive win against a really good opponent.
Yeah, I thought Quinlan, though, he was having moments in the fight, and then he just got carried away, and he started rushing in. Chin in the air, and then he got caught.
Yeah, but his eye was getting closed up a little bit. Yep. And makes a difference in what you see.
Well, you know, John, there's also moments when you feel like it's getting away from you and you've got to do a little extra. You do a little more and you leave yourself open more. And the more, like I had this conversation, I think a week or two ago, I said, the more you try, the more you get hit. It feels like quicksand. You're just stuck in it. It's like every time I'm going more and then I get hit more and then I try harder and then I just open myself up more and I get knocked out. And you're like, damn, what was I doing? I should have just fought. Well, that's going to wrap up our UFC. What is this? 296?
298.
298. Same thing. 296, 298. Same thing.
Same thing.
But before we go to WeighingInMerch.com, WeighingInMerch.com, and do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel here. We also have a Clips channel down there in the descriptions. Hit that link. That'll take you over to our Clips channel. We will be posting a lot more stuff on our Clips channel coming up. We have been posting some of our clips on here. We're going to post a lot more of our clips on our Clips channel. Get back to that as well. You guys remember, this main show, the hour-long shows, will be the fight breakdowns, and anything else beyond that will be done in separate clips. ranging from anywhere to say 8 to 20 minutes long on the separate clips, but it will be on this channel. Okay, guys. So I want to let you guys know that. And we will also cut up our pieces and put them onto the clips channel from there on out. All right. I want to thank you guys so much for continuing to support us. Subscribe to us, hit the bell notifications. John, take us away, bud.
For everyone out there, thank you. I hope you enjoyed UFC 298 the way we did. Congratulations to the new champ, Topuria. My God, what a stud. We will see you.